There's some feisty energy coming through, and it doesn't surprise me that it's coming through this channel and vessel because I am an uncomfortable truth teller. And this can push away a lot of people. It can trigger a lot of people. It can ruffle a lot of feathers and really trigger you. And then other people pay me to do it, which is a blessing because I just get to be the truth bomb, the divine truth bomb that they need to switch and flip and shift so quickly out of their old patterns and conditioning. So, we're just going to dive into this. The message that's coming through is I know so many of you are saying to yourself, asking, praying for guidance. When is this going to shift? Is when am I going to be living my higher timeline? And the message that's coming through is the question is, when are you going to stop abandoning yourself? When are you going to plug the energetic leaks? When are you going to stop betraying what you know to be true in your heart? When are you going to start saying yes to only the things that light you up and saying no to everything else? You're creating this reality. Make no mistake about it. Through what you are emitting, your frequency. And if you're coming from fear-based frequency, lack or scarcity fear frequency, you're going to create more of that. And it can get sneaky and it can get very refined on this journey. You doing anything at this point, if you're trying to shift into your highest timeline, one of the things popping up is that you can't try to get here. You can only be here. And you can only be here through embodying your truth. But you compromise your values, you settle for less than you deserve, settle for crumbs, settle for half-assed, half-baked, fill in the blank, however it resonates for you. One of the things we do in some of my more premium containers is we plug the energetic leaks because right now you're in a boat with a bunch of holes, and each hole, they can be big holes and they can be microscopic holes. But nonetheless, there are holes, and you're like in this boat that's filling with water, and you're taking this pail and you're trying to get the water out of the boat, but you have all of these leaks, all of these holes in the boat, and so water just keeps flooding in, and so you're exhausted. It's always going to be underwater. It's always going to be filling with water. It's always going to be survival or threat. It's always going to be exhausting. It's always going to feel like work until you plug the leaks. You're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to be paling out water, paling out water, paling out water, and more water is going to be rushing in. And as you begin to plug some of the real big obvious leaks, you see massive momentum moving forward because this automatically funnels your energy now into something that is more in alignment. Where when you have all of these holes, so to speak, and your energy is just leaking everywhere, you don't have enough energy to actually build momentum to creating the life that you truly desire, or the relationships that you truly desire, or calling in the clients you truly desire, or manifesting the abundance you truly desire. You don't have the capacity to hold that space. You don't have the capacity, and your nervous system can't hold that space because your nervous system is in fight or flight, trying to survive by paling out the water. Because if you don't, you feel like you're going to drown. That fight or flight mechanism is essentially what your nervous system is in when you refuse to plug the energetic leaks and you diffuse all of your power. So your power is going everywhere. It's being so diluted, so to speak, that you can't build actual momentum with what it is you're called to create in this lifetime, and the legacy you're here to build, or the impact you're here to make, or the sacred space you're here to hold for others, because you're just depleting yourself. You're diluting your frequency, you're diluting your power, you're diluting your energy. You're exhausted as a result. It feels like a lot of heavy lifting because you're just paling away, paling away, paling away, but not actually plugging the energetic leaks. So the question really is, when are you going to plug the energetic leaks? When are you going to no longer self-abandon? When are you going to choose yourself unconditionally? When are you going to love yourself unconditionally? When are you going to accept yourself unconditionally? When are you going to stop painting all the red flags green? When are you going to stop selling yourself a fantasy that's not even, that's just rooted in saving you somehow? When are you going to stop giving all of your power away to some external thing, whether that be another person or a job or waiting for the money to come in or something like that before you can take action? You wait and you tell yourself, oh, when I have more resources or more money, then I will invest in your own growth or transformation. Then, and that's like saying you'll lose the weight, you'll go to the gym after you lose the weight. Doesn't work that way. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. And it especially doesn't work that way as you're moving into your 5D timeline, where the logical linear steps and the goal setting and the old ways of manifesting, where you used to manifest from a lackful place, when you used to manifest all the things that you thought you needed on your vision board, or you used to manifest by writing and journaling a million times, or you used to manifest by affirming things or whatnot because but you were ultimately just holding something outside of you that you thought was going to save you and make your life better. Yeah, that lack-based manifestation isn't going to work for you either. You probably already recognize this. None of this stuff is working anymore. The old ways of efforting, the old ways of performing, the old ways of proving your worth, the old ways of manifesting, which ultimately were coming from fear-based energy. Even all of you out there that are working with Neville Goddard's law of assumption and all of this stuff, in truth, at the deepest level, Neville Goddard's teachings, for example, are rooted in the fact that your consciousness is the only reality. In truth, your consciousness is the only reality. That's the true Neville Goddard teaching. But you're even twisting that out of alignment because you're trying to use the Neville Goddard's law of assumption teachings from the separate sense of self that doesn't feel worthy, trying to create or manifest something that will help you feel worthy or validated or approved of or lovable. And that's all the ego coming in the back door. So the question is not, when are you going to shift? The question is not, when are you going to finally align with your highest timeline? The question is not, when are you going to finally be able to do what you love? The, eh, the question is not, when are you going to finally attract the prosperity, the abundance, or the freedom, or the ease, or the peace, or the clients, or the money, or the lover, and all the things. The question is, when are you going to stop selling yourself short, abandoning yourself, ignoring the leaks, bypassing those, and putting band-aids on them, thinking it's going to hold? When in actuality, what really plugs the leaks, here's what really plugs the leaks. And this is something that I cover in all of my programs and trainings. Ultimately, everything always points to the same thing. It's you coming into your sovereignty and your worthiness. There's just different stages of the journey. And there's the stage before you really step into leadership, and then there's a stage after you really step into leadership and you're ready to build the legacy level of impact that you're here to make, because you are called to make a big impact in the world and all the things. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's all the same thing, just different stages of the same journey. The level that you were able to meet yourself in your wholeness, in your completeness, in your worthiness, in your sovereignty, and then allow yourself to grow and expand from there, no longer bypassing all of the shit that is leaking your energy, and actually plug them. And do you want to know what really plugs the leaks? It's not your feminine energy. It's your inner masculine. It's your inner masculine that plugs the leaks. It's your inner masculine that says no when you really mean no, and yes when you mean yes. It's your inner masculine that takes that courageous, sacred action. It's your inner masculine that takes out your debit card or credit card and pays for something that you know is an alignment for you, but you have the fear mind going, but you know it's an alignment. And this isn't trying to sell you anything because I don't care if you sign up from any with me at all based on this. I'm only sharing from my experience because I've been there where investing in myself, putting money where my mouth is, and actually investing in myself has catapulted me out of the old identity of being a realtor, which was no longer in alignment, and into fully showing up as the way shower that I am and leading in the way that I know I'm here to lead and replacing my real estate income. And then going down that journey of more expansion, more embodiment, more growth, which is the name of the game, not from you needing something to fix you or you needing something to feel whole, lovable, or worthy, but because of the joy and the fun of it. Because of the joy and the fun of it. Because what else are you going to do here? You came here to have this 3D experience. What are you going to do? Go sit on a park bench for the next 50 years and chill? You might get a little ping like Eckhart Tolle did, a little divine discontent, he calls it, where he knows he could be doing more with this life experience, and he called in his next actions without even knowing it, and it catapulted and spiraled into something beyond what he could have even imagined. So what you're being called into is beyond what you can imagine. It's not something that you're going to be able to put your finger on if you're listening to this and resonating with this. This is beyond anything that the mind's going to be able to grasp and hold on to, but you will not be able to do it if you're still clinging to a fear-based identity, if you're still making fear-based justifications, if you're still making fear-based rationalizations. You can sit and simmer and circle and all of that for as long as you want, and you will continue to get the same, and it will be increasingly more difficult to be there because the frequency of the planet is rising and you are on an ascension timeline if you've landed here, and you're not going to be able to play small, hide, or dim your light, or keep perpetuating these stories of lack or scarcity or whatever. At some point you have to actually begin to embody the faith and the conviction and the devotion to what it is you want to create. And when you do that, you will begin to start plugging the energetic leaks. And back to the sacred masculine energy, it's actually your sacred masculine energy that's going to create the space for your feminine energy, your feminine essence to flourish. And it's your masculine energy that's going to co-create this 3D reality with the feminine. And it's your masculine energy that needs to step up. We had a big talk about this on the last Rise Sister Rise call. One of the biggest problems that you have right now, if there is a problem ultimately, it's one big paradox, there's no problems because you're learning from everything that you grow through. But if you're here now resonating with this, then it's time. You don't need to keep circling the same patterns anymore unless you want to. And if you do, you probably already clicked away. This video wouldn't even be resonating with you anymore. So I'm assuming if you're still here, it's because you're ready to break through the cycles of suffering and into sovereignty. And it's your inner masculine energy that needs to take the throne and put on his crown. Your inner masculine energy, the one that protects you, the one that keeps you safe, the one that builds structure, the one that builds stability, the one that takes courageous action through fear. This masculine energy is severely distorted in the divine feminine community. And a clear sign that your sacred masculine energy is severely distorted is because or is when you are exhausted, you're always over giving, you're overcompensating, trying to prove your worth, you're trying to um you're trying to the masculine energy is always going to come in and overcompensate when it's coming from a distorted energy. And it goes hand in hand. It's two sides of the same coin between, the feminine and the masculine energy. So if your feminine energy is coming from a wounded identity that doesn't feel lovable, good enough, or worthy, then the masculine energy is going to overcompensate and try to prove your worthiness. And that's going to look like over giving. Because masculine energy is very generous and giving, but it's going to be over giving. Why? Because if you overgive, then you can feel lovable, good enough, and worthy by overgiving. And this is a big energetic leak, especially for healers, light leaders, and spiritual way showers, which you cannot afford to do because it literally makes you sick. It literally depletes you energetically, physically, emotionally, on a biological level. It makes you sick. I've seen this so much in with light leaders and star seeds and way showers and all the different labels you want to apply. You can, whatever you're identifying with is fine. Healers, you can't afford to be giving from an empty cup. You can't afford to be over giving to compensate for some void that if you can help everybody else and make everybody else feel better, or fix all of their problems, then you'll feel useful, you'll feel worthy, you'll feel good enough. But when this is happening at your own expense, you're just creating bigger leaks for your boat that are going to lead to more exhaustion. This is about plugging the energetic leaks across the board so that you can create the safe space and the container for you to thrive. And this is done by fully integrating your sacred masculine energy. The feminine wants to feel safe. And you can't feel safe if your inner masculine is still playing like he's some pawn. Your inner masculine needs to be a king, fully on his throne, wearing his crown, being the inner protector, the inner space holder, providing the sacred structure and the sacred container and the sacred space for your feminine to finally feel safe enough to open her heart and be vulnerable and open to receive. So you think you have a receiving problem, right? And so often this is associated with feminine energy. And I share this all the time because it is. But the feminine is not going to feel safe enough to open to receive if the masculine energy is all distorted and wishy-washy and out of integrity and out of alignment and not showing up like the sacred protector and giver that it is. The sacred masculine energy has to be integrated in order for your feminine to flourish and thrive and be vulnerable enough to open up and receive. The masculine energy has to create enough safe space for the feminine to feel into her body and feel safe in her body. And your nervous system is part of this process. Your nervous system will be on high alert if your sacred masculine energy is not integrated because you won't feel safe. And so part of this is being able to trust yourself. If you can't trust your own inner masculine to have your back no matter what and to protect you, this inner level of trust that you got you no matter what, and that you can take the right, sacred, courageous actions when needed, and that you can say no when you mean no, and you can say yes when you mean yes. If you can't cultivate that level of inner trust in your own masculine energy to protect you, you will never be able to trust yourself. And if you cannot trust yourself, you will never feel safe to be in your body and fully open to receive. And your nervous system will always be on edge and always be in protective mode and fight or flight. And this can look like a lot of things. It can look like your heart being guarded. It can look like you blocking all of your blessings. It could look like, blocking abundance or prosperity or love. Like it can look like a lot of things. If your feminine heart doesn't feel safe to open and feel vulnerable enough to be open, then what does the masculine do? It overcompensates. How does the distorted masculine overcompensate when you're coming from wounded feminine energy? It's going to put a wall up around your heart, a block wall, not a healthy boundary. Oftentimes it is a block wall because it is overcompensating for the lack of your inner feminine feeling safe and vulnerable. And when that happens, you are not open to receive in your fullest divine expression. So the reason I'm bringing this through is because there is a call in the collective for a high level of leadership, and you are being called to that if you're resonating with this. And in order to lead others, you need to lead thyself. You need to master your inner alchemy and be the master of your experience. Be the divinely sovereign ruler that you are, fully integrated in your feminine energy, wearing your crown, but also fully anchored in your masculine energy, wearing your crown. Because it's when both divine feminine energy and sacred masculine energy marry this inner union that you are able to fully claim your power and rise. You will not be able to do that with distorted masculine energy. If you have distorted masculine energy, you have a lot of holes in your boat, and you're just going to feel like you're overly exhausted because you're just going to be paling away the water out of the boat, and there's going to be more rushing in. The fun thing is when you start to plug the energetic leaks for real, which means you have to start getting really honest and clear with what you're available for and what you're not available for, what's in alignment, what's not in alignment. You need to be able to exercise decision making and healthy discernment in a way that allows you to start to trust yourself. Because if you have a history of self-abandoning and you have a history of making choices that are not honoring your heart, then you have demonstrated to your subconscious and to yourself that you cannot ultimately trust yourself. Feel how wobbly that feels. If you are walking around in this 3D experience and you do not trust yourself to make the self-honoring decisions, if you're not able to trust that you can make the healthy, discerning decisions when shit hits the fan, when push comes to shove, no matter what anybody else is doing or saying, you can trust yourself unconditionally, unwaveringly trust yourself. This is where divine confidence comes from. It comes from you fully anchored in your sacred masculine energy. And you can say, no, that's not for me. And you don't need to justify it. You don't need to explain it. You don't need to have an explanation. You don't need to rationalize it. You can just be like, yeah, that's not for me. And just that knowing that it's not for you, that feminine ping that, oh, this is off because you feel it in your body and your masculine energy is like, nope, we're not doing that. Boom. Now you have trust. Now you have a new path that's opening up because you just got healthy discernment and you took action on it. And you didn't need to explain it or figure it out because you don't need to get lost in the mind to try to figure this shit out. You just need to trust yourself. Your body has all of the wisdom. Your body knows when something's off, but trusting your intuition is a huge part of this journey. You need to be able to trust your intuition and take guidance on that, or take action on the guidance that comes through, rather. Twisting my words a little bit, but I think you get the point. Does this resonate? Does it make sense? Like, this can make logical sense to you. Yes, I'm asking your mind. Does it make logical sense? Does it make logical sense that you actually need to plug your own energetic leaks in order for life to stop feeling like an uphill battle and you to take your power back so you can lead, create, give, and receive from divine overflow, fully seated in on your throne, wearing your crown as the mother effing empress and goddess that you are? That will only happen when you integrate both your feminine and your masculine energy. And the feminine is dual-sided. There's light and there's dark, and we're not going to get into that in this episode, in this transmission. I'm just sharing what's coming through right now. I just got back from a walk and I was like, okay, I'm going to have to record this because it can be so subtle. The sacred masculine energy needs to be discussed, and the plugging of the energetic leaks once and for all. Like I said, this was the topic on our last Rise Sister Rise call, and this is not casting judgment. I know I'm being like no bullshit truth teller here with you, but I've been there. I've given my power away. I've compromised my values. I betrayed my own heart. It's not a fun place to be. It's not a fun place to be leaking your power when you know you're here for more. You know you're here to lead and be an example for so much more than what you are currently allowing. There is a level of integrity. So this is very masculine energy, right? Integrity, meaning you can't give the universe lip service anymore. Your actions, words, and deeds need to match what you say you want. This is sacred masculine energy, right? Like, ladies, if you were on a date and a gentleman showed up that represents the masculine here as a metaphor, we use this on the Rise to Rise call, this dating metaphor. And a guy shows up and he's wishy-washy, you never know what he's thinking, and he says one thing, does another, and you can't count on him because there's like no integrity between his word and what he does. That is not someone that's rooted in their masculine, divine masculine energy. That's a lack of integrity. Where are you lacking integrity with your own actions, words, and deeds that are not lining up with what you say you want? That is integrating your sacred masculine energy. You have to get raw, real, and honest with yourself. You have to stop lying to yourself. You have to be willing to look at your own sabotaging tendencies. And if you can't do it yourself, which a lot of times you can't, that's why they call it the shadow, it's in your blind spot, then get into a container or work with someone that's there as a sacred mirror for you because you will catapult yourself so much faster when you are in the energy of someone that's already been there, done that, and or can see you and call it out and help you alchemize it in real time. And you don't have to work with me. There are a lot of way showers and sacred mirrors out there for you in all different, with all different kinds of support and containers for you. If you resonate, I would love to welcome you in one of the containers that I offer. They are very sacred. I only work with women who are awakening to their feminine power and their divine sovereignty. I don't entertain the victim story. I don't entertain any of that. I don't entertain it. It's not serving you. You have space to share what's coming up in a very, I hold a lot of compassionate space and safe space for people to share a lot of things that come up for them. So you can share, you can express, but you cannot dwell and you will not be able to stay identified with it. Not on my watch in these containers. You won't resonate. You'll go somewhere else because part of my gift, which may resonate with you, is that I'm an activator, and so are you most likely. That's why you're here. I'm a sacred mirror for you. And being an activator at that level and an uncomfortable truth teller means you will trigger the shit out of people and they will run away from you. It is very polarizing, but the right souls that are ready for the alchemy, they will gravitate towards you. They will magnetize in because their soul is ready for it. They don't want to sell themselves a lie anymore. They don't want to settle for crumbs when they know they deserve the whole damn cake. They don't want to keep lying to themselves. You get so sick of the bullshit on this journey that you don't want anybody that's going to sugarcoat. You want someone that's going to tell you how it is so you can cut through the bullshit and the illusion and move on your merry way, living your best life. And you want to do that in the easiest, quickest way possible, which means sugarcoating is not helping. And so I don't. I don't sugarcoat. I compassionately hold space and deliver the messages that your higher self is looking for. We are all ultimately connected to the source, and we are all like rays of the sun, the one source. We're all these individual expressions, and we're here to be sacred mirrors for each other. And you're here to rise into your highest divine expression, or you wouldn't be listening to this right now. And I'm here to activate that within you, the remembrance within you. I'm here to just reflect back to you what you already know to be true and cut through the illusions and cut through the bullshit without having to cycle through it anymore, without having to continue to pale and get nowhere except for a lot of frustration. Humanity's at a tipping point right now, and you're a part of this tipping point, and you wouldn't be resonating with this if you were not on your ascension timeline, which means you are not going to be able to continue to lie to yourself. You're not going to be able to sell yourself short or abandon yourself or betray your own heart or continue to have all of these leaks, so to speak, that you look the other way and you try to plug with a band-aid. No, they need to be plugged once and for all. And the good thing is when you start to plug them, you can plug some of the obvious ones first, and then it redirects your energy so, instantaneously, because we're working with energy here. So all of the energy, think of all of the fear-based energy or leaky, scarcity or energy or doubt, self-doubt or lack of confidence, all of that leaking energy or fear of making a decision or making the wrong decision or whatever, not trusting yourself, all of these things. Think about all of that energy now being completely redirected. It gains a lot of momentum really fast. This is why it's not an accident when people fly into one of my containers, they'll have breakthroughs instantaneously. Like new things start to flow into their experience right away because they actually have to even up level to even get into the container, because they have to peel away another layer of illusion or scarcity or lack or something to even get into the container. And this happens even in my tiniest containers, even in Embody the Empress, which is literally the cost of a pedicure. It doesn't even have to be a huge investment, although the different levels of investment, they will up level you because you will have to be different in order to move into that space. You will have to be a resonant match for that space. You will have to be a resonant match for the belief for the thought patterns and beliefs that believe you're worthy of that. And so anyways, it's your doing. I'm just here as a mirror. You activate yourself by coming in and redirecting your energy and your flow and creating momentum by plugging the leaks simply by entering. But shit, my laptop's gonna die. And that happens very fast, especially if you plug some of the big leaks. But, you know, obviously the caveat to that is that there's some courage required and faith required in a lot of plugging of these leaks. And then it gets more refined because there's other leaks that may have been flying under your radar, or the ego tries to come in the back door. Because what happens is as the momentum begins to build and you begin to make, your external world, I think I talked about this on a previous episode, your external world is a mirror and it reflects back to you. So as you start to shift and then you see the results in the external world and the thing manifests, whatever it is, right, as a reflection of your new inner alignment, oftentimes the ego can come in the back door with doubt and fear and scarcity again, and you can actually feel like you're stalling out, but that's only because you're hitting your edge. So if this was like your bubble of your container and then you just expanded it to receive more and now you're holding more, but the body hasn't really caught up to that yet. So there's like this process of integrating your nervous system to feel safe enough to hold the new expanded version. And if you don't feel safe enough to hold the new expanded version, then you'll either sabotage what's coming in or you'll come with all this fear-based, lack-based energy, which also sabotages it on an energetic level. Or let's say you'll manifest. This is where you'll see like, oh, you'll manifest a bunch of money and then all of a sudden you'll manifest a bunch of bills to match it or something like that. It's because you haven't built the space to hold it. Um, and this requires integration, again, with your, being in your body and feeling safe. This is the feminine, right? Being in your body and feeling safe. And we're back to square one here. You can't be in your body and feel safe if your masculine is running around given the universe lip service and out of integrity with your actions, words, and deeds, with what you actually say you want. So one of the biggest disconnects is you give the universe lip service and you say you want X, Y, and Z, and you're here to manifest your best life and live a life beyond your wildest dreams, or manifest, and create this divine reality, it's not even you doing it. This is what you're being called to express. It's your natural, fullest divine expression and expansion. So you feel it in your in your soul. You're being called to no longer play small, hide, shrink, dim your light, dim your magic, right? You're being called to share your gift and your medicine with the world. You're being called to take up more space. You're being called to be seen, to be visible. You're being called to speak your truth and share your voice, which is an activation for others. You're being called to live and lead by example, fully embodied and anchored in your divine frequency. And so as you answer that call, you're going to be met with um, the doubts and the fears and things like that because you're breaking out of your comfort zone. But you have to feel safe. Before I get sidetracked, I know I was going somewhere with this. You got to feel safe to hold that. And you're not going to feel safe to hold all of that if the masculine energy is like wishy-washy, not strong, not solid, not rooted in his strength, your inner masculine, your inner king. And part of this journey earlier on, especially, you may have been looking for this in a partner, for example. You may have been looking for someone else to show up and play this role for you to save you, so you could feel safe, to be some strong pillar, protector, and all of the things. And there's nothing wrong with that, but if you're reaching outside of yourself for that, then you're coming from wounded energy. What's being reflected back to you is not going to be that. And so a lot of you have even found this channel or podcast or wherever you're listening to this because you have had all of your abandonment issues like brought to the surface, right? Like your fear of abandonment, your fear of not being safe, and desperately seeking that in some external form, another person. And this journey will show you over and over again for as long as necessary that you are your own savior, that no one else can save you on this journey. You coming home to you and being the source of your power, because that is what you are. You are a power source. You are the power source. You are it. And you will not be able to give it away by seeking it outside of yourself anymore. The validation, the approval, the safety, the love, the worthiness, all the things. You're not going to be able to do that anymore. It will be really uncomfortable until you begin to break those cycles and they get more refined over time. So this is what was coming through. I don't think it needs to be any longer than it already is right now. If this resonates with you and you want to learn more on how to work together, I would recommend, and you have questions, I would recommend sending me a DM on Instagram at Spiritual CEO. There's a few different containers where you actually get live access to me, and then there's several containers where you get activations but not live access to me. So the membership is a no-brainer. The Embody the Empress membership, if you resonated with this transmission, which is all about integrating your feminine and masculine energy and anchoring into your divine sovereignty as the Empress that you are, which is basically the bare bone basics of your entire journey. Until that gets locked in, you're not going to be able to lead in the way you want to lead. You're not going to be able to create in the way you want to create. You're not going to be able to receive in the way you want to receive. Like fully coming home to the truth of who you are and being embodied in your divine worthiness and your sovereignty. And you can get access to the membership for $47 a month at the time of this recording. That's likely going to go up to $88 a month. I haven't decided when, but 88 is very significant for me. I love that number. I'm feeling called to that. So anyways, right now, you can get access for the price of a pedicure every month, and you actually get live calls every single week on Saturday. And a lot of activations and trainings and teachings and things like that inside the membership. But the live access every week is gold. It's a container of women that are awakening to their power and anchoring into their sovereignty. So it's a high frequency container. And we have a lot of fun on it. It's really fun. So if you're feeling called, that's a great place to start. It's very accessible. and you can get instant access right away. And at the time of this recording, there's actually there's a call tomorrow. So I know like this is obviously, you might not be listening to this on a Friday night when I'm recording this, but the calls as of right now are on Saturdays. So and that may change. So you always just want to check the sales page and but at the time of this recording, it's on Saturday, and we have another one here in a little bit tomorrow. So Saturday in the US. What else? Rise Sister Rise is if you know that you're here to move into your sacred feminine leadership as a way shower. Your lone wolf healing era is over. You may still have things that are spiraling out. You don't have to be you will know if you are meant to be in Rise Sister Rise because it is quantum identity shifting into your highest timeline as a new earthway shower and a sacred feminine leader, here to shine your light and share your magic with the world. So really tapping into sacred visibility. And this is where I always say it's like your lone wolf healing era is over. You're here to rise as a leader. So that's Rise Sister Rise. You can DM me the word rise on Instagram if you want to chat it out, because if, maybe you want to make sure it's a good fit, I would love to do that as well if you're curious. So DM me the word rise on Instagram. And then those are the two that I feel make the most sense for this transmission if you resonated with this. Embody the Empress, Rise Sister Rise, or the Temple. The Temple, you don't get live access to me, but it is a great complement to any of those programs. And you basically get access to very Lilith coded uh, transmissions that are here to really activate your unapologetic dark feminine magnetism. And if that resonates with you, that is a one-time fee, lifetime access. And every time I drop a new edition, it goes up. But right now, you can get access before the price goes up for the price of one live event. And when I drop the next edition, which is going to be Sacral Magnetism here soon, the value goes up and so does the investment. So the sooner you enroll, the the less you pay, but you get lifetime access for all of the editions that get dropped, including a pass to the Forbidden Feminine Black Cat edition, which is going to be live on March 13th in 2026. So super excited about that. It's hosted on Friday the 13th. Very symbolic. And I saw next year it was in March, so 313, very symbolic for sacred feminine energy. So, that being said, I think that's it with the housekeeping. I am going to go make some dinner and call it a night. So, I hope this finds you well. And if it resonated, let me know in the comments. And until next time, namaste.